Janine Ann Jones was born July 1950 in Texas. She was adopted by Richard and Gladys Jones. Janine grew up in the San Antonio area. In high school, she worked in the library. She was known to have a very bossy attitude and hated when other teens goofed around, no sense of humor, and was very uptight. Janine would pretend to be sick in order to gain sympathy from others. Right before her 18th birthday, two of her brothers passed away. One passed away from a homemade bomb that exploded right in his hands. That same year, her adopted father passed away from an illness. Right out of high school, Janine married her high school sweetheart, James Delaney Jr. She began beauty school and got a job at the Methodist Hospital beauty parlor. Delaney was later drafted into the Navy, and the family moved to Georgia. In Georgia, they welcomed their first son, Richard Michael, born in January 1972. Once Richard Michael was born, their marriage took a turn and it led to a messy divorce. In 76, she gave birth to her second child, a girl named Heather. In 1977, Jones moved back into her mom's house and went to school for nursing. Janine started her first job at Methodist Hospital but was asked to quit after having an altercation with the doctor. She then got a job at its South Texas Medical Center but quit 3 months later to have surgery. In October of 1978, she began to work her new job at the University Health. She worked in the pediatric intensive care unit for critically ill newborns and babies. She worked alongside registered nurse Sherilyn Pendergraft. Pendergraft said that a 6-day-old baby died from complications and Janine just went berserk. She began to sob uncontrollably. She said that she seemed to be getting better at her job and she had more control, so to speak. She became so confident that she became very condescending and belittling to her fellow coworkers. Nobody seemed to like her, and she always went to doctors with complaints on other nurses. She was considered a real pain in the ass. On May 21st, 1981, Christopher James Hodega passed away from cardiac arrest at the age of 15 months old. When he passed, she held him and cried and told everybody that he was her boy. On September 16th, 1981, 2-year-old Rosemary Vega was awaiting surgery. Rosemary's mom said that Janine came in the room and injected her daughter with an unknown substance. The mother said that as soon as Janine left the room, the baby began to breathe funny. Doctors rushed in and tried everything they could, but no avail. Baby Rosemary passed away from cardiac arrest. By the end of 1981, the hospital had an unusual high death rate at the PICU. The hospital began to suspect Janine Jones was harming babies. Rumors began to circulate around the hospital, calling the shifts that she worked the death shifts. People didn't really want to place the blame on her without 100% knowing, so they just assumed it was really bad luck. Or maybe that's just what they told themselves to sleep at night. Because when the actual hospital heard about it, they cared more about their reputation. And they didn't want it getting out there that one of their nurses was harming children. On October 10th, 1981, 6-month-old Jose Flores passed away from uncontrollable bleeding. Doctors tried to resuscitate him for 52 minutes, but it was too late. On December 22nd, 1981, 2-year-old Doralia Rios was in the hospital recovering from surgery when Janine Jones started her shift. Baby Rios passed away shortly thereafter. Before Janine left for the night, she wrote a note in the nursing book wishing baby Rios a Merry Christmas. On December 27th, 1981, 4-week-old Rolando Santos suffered a severe seizure and almost died. After saving baby Rolando's life, endocrinologist Ken Copeland was aware of all the rumors of Janine and decided to run a blood test. Renato's blood had abnormal amounts of a blood thinner. He was given a dose of protamine sulfate, a medicine to reverse the effects of the blood thinner. Copeland was disgusted with the nurses and sent baby Ronaldo to another unit. Ronaldo thankfully made a full recovery. After a successful surgery, 4-month-old Patrick Zavala died January of 82 from cardiac arrest. In February of 82, the medical committee began to speculate Janine Jones was responsible for these unexplained baby deaths. So in March of 1982, they decided to get rid of vocational nurses and replace them with registered nurses. That way, they didn't have to fire Jones and face public scrutiny. Although they did offer her a job in the hospital working with adults, she insisted that she loved working with kids and quit. Kathleen Holan, a pediatrician from upstate New York, moved to Kerrville, Texas to open her own practice. Kathleen wanted to hire registered nurses, but because she just started her own practice, it really wasn't in the budget, so she decided to hire vocational nurses instead. Kathleen was looking into hiring Janine Jones. Dr. Kathleen's pediatric friend did raise some doubts about Janine, but Kathleen insisted on hiring her anyways. By August of 1982, Janine was working at Dr. Kathleen's clinic full time. Chelsea McClennan was born premature. She developed infant respiratory distress syndrome as a result. On August 24th, 1982, Chelsea's parents brought her to see Dr. Kathleen after Chelsea had trouble breathing. Janine took Chelsea into another room to play, and less than 5 minutes later, Janine came running back in the room saying that Chelsea was having a seizure. Dr. Kathleen was able to get baby Chelsea stable, and an ambulance was called. Baby Chelsea spent 9 days in the PICU. About a month later in September, Chelsea's mother brought her back to Dr. Kathleen's clinic to get a couple shots. Janine gave Chelsea a few shots. During this time, she was injected with succinylcholine, a super strong muscle relaxant. Right after the injection, Chelsea began to have trouble breathing and began to convulse. Again, an ambulance was called. This time, Janine accompanied Chelsea in the ambulance with Dr. Kathleen following closely behind in her own car. During the trip, Janine injected Chelsea with succinylcholine again. Chelsea then flatlined. The ambulance pulled over in an attempt to resuscitate Chelsea, but they were unsuccessful and she died shortly thereafter at a small medical facility. Dr. Kathleen listed the cause of death as unknown. Janine later returned that day to finish her shift at Dr. Kathleen's office. August 30th, 1982, 7-year-old Jimmy Pearson, a boy who was unable to speak and had an intellectual disability, came to Dr. Kathleen's office. At the appointment, Jimmy suffered multiple seizures. He was rushed to the hospital. That same day, 4-month-old Christopher Parker suffered a seizure. Parker, too, was transported to the hospital that day. Thankfully, baby Christopher survived. But unfortunately, 7-year-old Jimmy passed away from complications October 21st, 1982. September 23rd, 1982, Janine injected 5-month-old Relinda with succinylcholine, causing a severe health issue and paralysis. She was rushed to the hospital. By this time, the hospital was aware of these babies coming from Dr. Kathleen's clinic. They decided to watch the baby extremely close and had an emergency meeting about all the babies being sent to their hospital from Dr. Kathleen's office. After some blood tests, it was discovered that baby Rolinda was poisoned with succinylcholine. Later that day, a doctor and a surgeon did some digging into Janine Jones's background. They began to find multiple similar cases throughout Texas. The surgeon said, "We have a baby killer on our hands." At the same time, Dr. Kathleen started to keep an eye on Janine. She found a bottle of succinylcholine and noticed a little puncture on the top. She asked Janine about the puncture, but Janine's response was, "I don't know," type of attitude. 2 days later, Janine came to work and told Dr. Kathleen she took a bunch of pills. Dr. Kathleen called an ambulance and Janine's stomach was pumped. 4 days later, Janine returned to work. With an investigation still underway, Dr. Kathleen and Janine both took a polygraph test the next day. Jones did not pass, so Dr. Kathleen fired her. Janine was arrested in November of '82 and was later released on bail while awaiting trial. In April of 1983, Janine married a 19-year-old nursing aide. On May 24th, 1983, Janine was finally arrested and charged, but only with the murder of Chelsea McClennan. She was sentenced to 99 years. Because of a law in Texas, in 2013, Janine was due to be released for good behavior. Nobody wanted that to happen, so prosecutors began to scramble. They later charged her with attempted murder of 6 children by injecting them with harmful doses of medication. Janine confessed and was given 60 years in prison. In a letter to the Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles in 2011, Janine confessed to murdering several babies. She didn't disclose the number, but she did admit it was heinous, and her only explanation was she was not sound of mind before '94. until she found God's wisdom. Honestly, reading all the details of this case made me sick to my stomach. And the fact that the hospital was aware of what she was doing and just let her go because they cared more about their reputation is disgusting. They should be sued by so much that they have to shut down, and all the money should go to all the families that were affected. While researching this case, I was pretty curious what number she was listed as on the list of women serial killers in America. She wasn't even on that list, y'all. It's like, because it was babies, people don't even want to talk about it or think about it, let alone put it in the history books. But it happened. And she is the most prolific, evil woman serial killer in American history, and she's not even considered to be on the list. I promise you, she has a special place in hell. And if you made it to the end, thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day, and God bless.